We had a scheduled C-section 3 weeks ago, and I had the best experience that I would do it over and over and over again. So I'm going to share my positive birth story with you guys. At our 34-week OB appointment, we found out baby girl was still breech. And honestly, it wasn't too surprising because she had been breech since our 20-week anatomy scan. I do have a heart-shaped uterus, so I'm sure that contributed to the position she was in. They did offer me to do an ECV procedure. However, I heard horror stories over that, so I decided to forego that procedure. Initially, when I heard we had to do a C-section, I was a little disappointed just because some part of me does want to have that vaginal birth experience. I also did a bunch of research on the recovery, and that freaked me out too. But honestly, I fully believe everything happens for a reason, so I do fully believe this was meant to be. At the start of our pregnancy, our family friend was our OB until she retired in October. However, she always planned to be there for our birth. So before our appointment, our family friend and our current OB collaborated on a date that worked best for them. And they asked us if January 18th worked for us. And I looked at Trevor and Trevor looked at me, and that date was so meaningful. My mom passed away July 18th, and the 18th was like a date that was just sad for me. My mom always said your worst day will end up being your best day, and I truly believe that she was behind making that date my baby girl's birthday. Because the 18th was the worst day ever for me, and now it's the best day ever. Our C-section was planned at 8 in the morning, so we woke up at 4, left at 5. It was an hour drive to the hospital. We had to get there at 6. On the way to the hospital, Trevor and I saw a shooting star, which was so crazy because it was so bright outside. He looked at me immediately and was like, "Hi, Connie," which is my mom. It was definitely a very emotional car ride, but once we arrived at the hospital, my nerves really subsided. There was the most beautiful sunrise ever, which I just felt my mom everywhere. We checked in, they gave me 2 IV bags, they monitored my heart, they checked my blood pressure, we got dressed, and to be honest, it was a really peaceful experience. We met with the anesthesiologist, our 2 OBs, and a bunch of nurses, the pediatrician, everyone who was going to be in the room. They gave us a rundown on how everything was going to go. I expressed my nervousness about the spinal tap. They were super cool about it. Honestly, that was so easy. It just felt like a bee sting. At 8 o'clock, they wheeled me into the surgery room. The room just had like really bright lights. It didn't feel like I was about to give birth. Once they did the spinal tap, they quickly laid me down on the hospital bed before everything went numb and I wasn't able to move. They brought in my husband, Trevor, and they started the surgery quickly after that. The C-section itself just felt like a bunch of tugging. It was a little scary, I'm not gonna lie, that felt weird. I did feel them kind of like up my upper ribs at one point, and I was like kind of flopping on the table. Trevor was looking at me like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I just think I'm gonna be so sore tomorrow." After they cut through 7 layers and went through my abs, they got baby girl out, and it was the most magical experience ever. There was like a sheet in front of me, so I couldn't see what was going on, thank goodness, in my stomach area. But once they brought out baby girl, they lowered the sheet a bit and I was able to see her face. It was the most insane, magical experience. They took her to the other side of the room to get cleaned up, measure her weight. Trevor was with her the whole time. Then they brought her over to me, laid her on my chest while they sewed me up. Honestly, as soon as they were able to safely deliver baby girl from my tummy, I felt so at peace. Stitching me back up was probably another 20 minutes, but nothing in the world mattered because I had baby girl on my chest, and that was just the craziest experience. Now, after I was stitched up and wheeled back into the recovery room, I'm not gonna lie, first hour I felt totally fine, a little drowsy, couldn't really open my eyes, had baby girl laying on me, and they wheeled me to the room I was going to be in for the next 4 nights. Now that is when I felt extreme nausea. That was the part I could not stand. For the next like 4 to 5 hours, I was extremely nauseous. They were trying to get her latched on, and it was just like a full out of body experience. I hated that. But my C-section was amazing and I would do it all over again. Honestly, like miss it. I miss that experience of baby girl being placed on my chest for the first time. It was magical. I wish I could do it over again tomorrow.